Special day. It is all day, as we've said over and over. We got wind that you were going to be leaving, and we decided as a group to dedicate a day to you and talk about you and celebrate all of your contributions to the club. So today, I'm going to be talking about my experience with you as a mentor. Now, how many people here have actually had a mentor when they joined this group? Okay, so a few of you. How many of you had Paul as a mentor? So one other one here. So Tony, you'll probably relate to a lot of the stuff I'm going to be saying here. When I first joined Tech Masters, I said this before, I saw Vince speaking at the user group. I was speaking on MVC, and Alice was there, and I walked up to him afterwards. I'm like, you mentioned Tech Masters, tell me about it. So he told me about it. I sent an email to, I believe, James was president, but you actually answered it because James was gone. Maybe you were president and James was gone, but I ended up getting an email from you. Kind of told me where it was, and told me to show up and just come in and check it out. And so I did. And I think I came to 2 meetings before I decided to join. And in the second meeting, you spoke. You gave a presentation. It was more of an inspirational talk. And I was just, wow, it was so good, so energetic. And so I actually talked to you after the meeting, and I wanted to talk a little bit more about that. So you said, okay, I'll call you this afternoon. So my second meeting at the club, I get a call from Paul, and he talks to me for about an hour about the benefits of Toastmasters. It was at that point, I'm like, okay, I'm in, I'm signed up. And he also mentioned his mentoring program. He said, send an email to Alex to get you set up with the mentor. And I just threw out there, I'm like, well, I feel like we have a good rapport. How about you be my mentor? You know, not knowing how busy Paul is, right? He's involved in Biz Lounge, other groups he speaks, he works. And he said to me, the honor is to serve. And that was it. He became a mentor. From that point on, I had a guide through the experience of Tech Masters and a guide to reach my goals, which weren't maybe too heroic. I wanted to start speaking in user groups. I wanted to feel comfortable in front of peers in the meetings, in meetings at work. I wanted to be able to present code and just things like that to help my career as a consultant. And so Paul helped me do that. So when I tried to think about what I wanted to talk about today, in terms of how you mentored me, I said, well, what are the 3 key things that I thought were fantastic working? And so I'm just going to go through those today. And the first, which we all know, is positive attitude. Has anybody here ever seen Paul in a bad mood? You know, they say when you meet people, assume that they're having the worst day of their life, right? They could be having things going on at home, they could have illnesses, family. So if someone's grumpy with you, assume that they're having the worst day of their life and comes from slack. Every time I've met Paul, he's having the best days. I've never seen him be negative about things. He's always positive, and he brings that energy to this club, he brings it to mentorship, and he brings it to the lecture when you speak. It's contagious. It makes people want to step up, it makes us want to work harder, it makes us see the value in things like this and you do. So the positive attitude is a major, huge thing for mental. It's contagious and it helps us basically get energy when we're feeling maybe a little bit complacent, tired, nervous, whatever. The second thing is the willingness to share. So a little bit double-edged sword here. If you ask Paul a question, you get an answer. The answer may be 6 or 7 paragraphs. It may be a half-hour conversation. He is willing to share everything in every aspect of how he knows it. And, at times, you say, wow, that's a long email. Okay, I'll read it. And then you reply with, maybe a couple sentences. And you're like, wow, he put so much more effort into his reply than I ever put into the question. But the willingness to share, like no other person. If he has any experience in it, he's willing to give it all the good, the bad, the ugly. Willing to document it for you, willing to meet you for coffee. We've had several coffee dates for our mentorship. We've met after meetings. We've met on weekends. We've had phone calls. And I was actually trying to go through my Google inbox. I used to have a folder for Paul. Emails from Paul. It was pretty important when I had a role. He would basically write me directions. Like, here's the kind of stuff that I think about when I do this role. So I saved that stuff, and I still look at it now when I come in to do a Toastmaster role. I use that as my guide. I use it as just kind of my instructions for implementing the role. So over time, because we have so many emails that go back and forth, it's hard for me to isolate the ones that were just to me from Paul. But I found about 320 over the last 3 years.
Wow.
And I was going to do a word count, I was going to print it and illustrate it, but the amount of information and value in those emails that I've used directly to better myself, priceless. Really, really, really good stuff, motivating stuff, insightful stuff, very good. So the willingness to share, and as you said when we first stepped into this kind of relationship, was the honor to serve. The willingness to share and willingness to serve. The second, or the third, of course, is guidance. The mentor without insight, without experience, isn't that much of a mentor. They might be able to give you opinions, but Paul had real life experience. He's presented at user groups, he's presented here a lot, he's presented for work. He gave me tips on fonts, just different things that I wouldn't have thought of. Setting up my computer for demonstrating code. When it came to handling nerves, he gave me insight on techniques he used, and that stuff only comes with experience. When I did my first presentation at the Docker user group, which was one of my goals, he came after hours, did an evaluation for me, gave me a whole bunch of wonderful feedback on that, and the information I got from his feedback was priceless. It was really, really good stuff, and every time I went out to speak, I felt that I was speaking better, more confident. So, lots of guidance in many ways, and not even just from a speaking perspective. Watching how he lives his life, there's a lot there at a personal level too. That is very, very helpful. And then one that I think kind of sums you up more than any other word that I could think of, and it's not a fancy word, right? Like Toyotas are reliable, you know. But consistently reliable is something that most people struggle with. They overcommit. Sometimes they underdeliver. Their intentions are great, but a lot of times they just can't do it. That's not Paul. Paul will say he's going to do something and over-deliver every single time. We've had emails exchanges like, how do you do all this stuff? Like, you need to give us a manual about how you do Paul. How do you do all this stuff with so much effort? And it's something that I think about a lot when I've kind of committed to something that you have lost interest. And you know, over time, your energy towards things wanes, it ebbs. I never see that. Your commitment's always there, your energy's always there, and you're always doing more than anyone would actually expect. So that's a wonderful, wonderful trait that I hope to emulate in everything I do, whether it's speaking or in my personal relationships. So with that said, having Paul as a mentor was personally and from a career perspective probably one of the greatest experiences I've had in my life. Your insight, your help, your willingness to share. Amazing. So thank you, Paul. This is your day. This club is largely what it is because of you, and you've touched us all through leadership. Thank you very much. And I'll turn it back over to you.
I will piggyback on that.